And today, I hope everyone is okay and you've had a good day and you're having a good week. So, if you're having a good week, you can just put it on the chat and maybe say hi and tell us where you're joining from. Okay, so welcome to this webinar. It's CloudForceSky, and I hope you enjoyed the session. And today we have a host, and her name is Joan. I hope Joan is in. She's a Senior DevOps Engineer, and today she'll be talking about DevOps, her journey, and her day-to-day work as a DevOps Engineer. And from this, you'll be able to learn a lot and ask some questions because maybe you want to get into that field. So ask as many questions as you have. Yeah. So Joan, you can say hi.
Hi. I don't know. Do you want my video on or off?
It's your choice. Any you're comfortable with.
Okay. Right. There we go. So hi everyone. My name is Joan Wambugu. I'm a Senior DevOps Engineer with One Acre Fund based in Kigali. Forgive me, niko na homa kidogo, baridi nataka kunimaliza. Sorry. Macreen, if you allow me to speak, I can go for hours. So, what's the protocol?
Okay, you've already introduced yourself. So maybe the team can introduce themselves. Maybe Patrick Odhiambo.
Macreen, yes. So, hi everybody. Am I audible?
Yes.
Thank you. Just a second. So, hi everybody. My name is Patrick, and I'm happy to be here today. Sorry, I can't have my video on because of where I am, using the sharing offices. Anyway, but we are really excited to be in this session today. Thank you, Joan, for accepting our invite. We are looking forward to learning a lot from you. And so, karibu sana, and welcome everybody. Thank you, Macreen. Back to you.
Thank you, Patrick. So everyone who has joined, maybe you can just text on the chat. You can share there your LinkedIn profiles, for follows, So, Joan, you can take it and start the session. People will ask questions as you go.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This is my first engagement with CloudForceSky community, and I am excited to be here with you and to talk to you and sort of share. I'm actually lounging on my couch because I just want this to be a very informal conversation where we can just talk about DevOps. Yeah. So I have a very kidogo presentation, if you allow me. Where's the link? It's crazy. Okay. It's so interesting what AI can do, right? I just saw this and I was like, now this is what I'm going to do. So I hope it's visible to everyone. Right. Thank you. So when Patrick approached me, he gave me sort of a brief of what the community expects. And for this particular one is titled A Day in the Life of. And I'm so honored that I am the DevOps engineer to share this. On my left, I hope it's your left as well. Like there's a photo there, a very beautiful photo. I wanted to actually just say, disclaimer, this is the only photo from my gallery. so the rest will be AI generated. I'm so sorry. But anyway, so for me, the reason I put this photo here is just to show you, for anyone who is looking to join DevOps, for anyone in software engineering generally, actually, basically, you only need 3 things. The first one is your laptop. So the silver thing over here is my laptop. The second thing you need is your headphones, AirPods, whatever, what have you. And of course, a good cup of coffee, because if you think you are going to have enough sleep, I am so sorry. Anyway, on a very, very light note, but for those of us who are in software, who will tell you sometimes sleep comes kidogo kidogo. So yeah, you'll need your laptop. Obviously, we have some really nice stickers from Linux over there. And basically, the life of a DevOps engineer is very dynamic, very fast-paced. I can't tell you how many times I move and, around from one thing to another, from one system to another, from one technology to another. In a day, it's crazy, honestly. In a day, you just find you're in Kubernetes, you're in monitoring, you're in this, you're in that, code reviews, blah, blah, blah. And so I'm going to try and condense that into this session and try and share what that looks like. So that's it. Basically, this is all you need to get started. So what do you do when you wake up? Basically, actually, there are 2 very important things to a DevOps engineer. And the first one is system health. And number 2 is database, deployment status. So a lot about DevOps is automation. A lot about DevOps is pipelines. A lot about DevOps is Git, cloud, containerization, that's Kubernetes. And also every morning, actually, speaking from experience, actually, we have some tasks that you have to perform every day. The first one is you need to check the dashboards. So like your monitoring dashboards, that's CPU, persistent volumes, and that's Kubernetes, and a couple of other things, and you have to check on pipeline. So basically that's what you will be expected to do as a DevOps engineer. Check the health. How are your systems progressing? Do you require more resources? Do you have logs that you need to look into? Do you require, more CPU? What is the health of your databases, and so on and so forth. Also, on the other hand, is how you get there. So do you have issues with your pipelines? Did variables change? Certificates? There's a new program. There's a new what's this called? Like software that the company or whatever you're working for, even your own. There's something new you want to introduce. You went to this very nice conference and you learned about very nice tool, maybe for cloud management or optimization, cost optimization, and you want to deploy it and see how it looks like. So you have to check on the deployment and that kind of thing. So if there's any new code, any continuous for business continuity generally. So if people want to deploy, are your pipelines healthy, and so on and so forth. Also, it's going to involve a lot about collaboration with development teams. I don't know how many times I am in meetings with developers trying to, of course, sometimes it's just taking them through what the pipeline looks like, what we have incorporated, what is new, how your code gets deployed. With the recent rise in Kubernetes, honestly, it's about more and more people want to learn Kubernetes. More software engineers want to learn Kubernetes. So as a DevOps engineer, Kubernetes is one thing that you will need to know. We're going to talk about knowledge and skills at the end. That's the very last slide where I'm going to show you a little bit about what skills you need to have as a DevOps engineer. So bear with me. So yeah, teaching people, monitoring, Elastic, Prometheus, Grafana, whichever tool, Datadog, I think, Dynatrace, and such. tools. So there's code reviews, there's problem solving. You need to be able to troubleshoot. So one thing I have noticed is DevOps engineer kind of are admins. So from the word development and operations. So you sort of handshake with both teams. So you'd find there are some permissions that the dev team cannot be given by the ops team. For example, you don't want your developers to be able to log into the servers and manipulate some things. In Kubernetes, especially, you don't want them to maybe view secrets, or you don't want them to delete deployments and such. So you find that permission is given to the DevOps engineer. So the DevOps engineer has admin permissions that the dev doesn't have on the infrastructure, and vice versa. So you find that you become sort of the go-to person by virtue of you have the capability, the permissions. Ideally, you're able to log into the database, you're able to log into whatnot, you're able to log in, whatever. So you will find that you will become the go-to person. And I'm not going to lie to you, sometimes it gets to your head because you don't remember which database this is, and it becomes a little bit overwhelming. So be prepared to handle such high stressful situations where people think that you have all the solutions just because you have the username and password. I mean, sometimes it's not enough, but yeah, those are some of the challenges. Yeah. So problem solving, especially that's the scenario. So people will expect that you'll be able to understand Postgres because you have the username and password. I can't tell you how many times I have had to Google Postgres command to read only, because that's not my forte, you know. A little bit about my past and my journey is I started in operations. So I was an IT engineer, like platform sort of engineer. So servers, Kubernetes, orchestration, cloud, that's my background. So coming into harmonizing the development side, and you know, development is not just the servers, there's a lot, like there's monitoring bit, and then there's databases. So it has been a real learning curve, honestly. And the other thing is, of course, continuous integration. Like, how do you continuously improve? This is what I'm talking about, business continuity, how to make sure that everything is running smoothly. That's what DevOps engineering is mostly about. Yeah, automation, so infrastructure as code, containerization, and testing. I'm hoping these are not buzzwords, but in case there's one that you don't understand, please, you can shoot a question and I'll be able to address. My favorite part, you will take a guess, is containerization, hence my stickers on my laptop. I am a Kubernetes enthusiast. Anything Kubernetes just blows my mind away. Security, networking, application deployment, not development, not so much, but deployment, logs and monitoring, anything that runs on Kubernetes. I want to know, how are my logs being ingested? Where can I see them? How am I deploying? What can I do differently? This. Number two is basically me. Like, I kind of tend to think if you cut my skin, the monitor talker, it will spell Kubernetes. Maybe it is going to be blue. Who knows? Monitoring and incident response. This is also something you need to prepare for. So you need to understand the monitoring tools, the stack that you can choose one. I think you just need to learn one and then you can extrapolate. So you can choose either Elasticsearch, Prometheus, Grafana, you know, whatever you want, that Datadog, Dynatrace, depending on which one you want. But most of these tools, apart from the open source ones, the rest you can just, it's kind of drag and drop in some of these things. But the open source ones, you might need to write code, sometimes API calls to Elastic to find out storage and all that kind of thing. Then in case there's an incident, you need to be able to resolve the issues. Remember, I told you have like more admin permissions than the dev, and probably more on the dev side that the ops team has. So you kind of sit and have a bad view, you know, vibe, and you can be able to correlate what dev and ops do, and it's easy to identify issues, problems, and investigations and all. But sometimes people expect that you have the solution, which you probably don't. So I think as a DevOps engineer, what you do there is lead the conversation, lead the investigation, like bring teams together, sort of a PM's role, but not PM per se, because it's very technical. Then after that, once you're able to know what the problem is, what can you do to make sure that it does not happen again? So how do you mitigate? How do you mitigate it? So what was the root cause and what did we do to resolve it? And how can we make sure that it does not happen in, any other time? And this is what I was talking about, essential skill set for a DevOps engineer. I classified them into like 5 big buckets, sort of, but I feel they are more than this, but these are like the must-haves, yeah, sort of. So you need to know automation, GitOps, monitoring, security, and cloud. So automation could be infrastructure, could be pipelines, so could be Jenkins X, Ansible, Terraforms. I think Jenkins X is Kubernetes. No, I stand corrected there. So GitOps could be Helm, Customize, Flux, monitoring, Elasticsearch, Grafana. Security could be Sonar Cloud, GitGuardian, and cloud, AWS, Azure, GCP, what else? There's DigitalOcean, whichever cloud that you want to use, you can use this. So I think for me, this slide, based on the brief I got, is kind of the most important one. For those of us who are looking to begin their DevOps journey, this sort of gives you bird's view of where to start and how to start, and what to learn and what to do, sort of conversation, yeah. And then what to expect is in the other slides that I have shared with you. So up to that point, any questions? Anyone with a question? Thank you, guys. I just want to address any issues, anything you feel I have missed. Yes, Gilbert.
Hi, Joan. Thank you for that. So I'm also big on Kubernetes, and I'm starting out. So I just wanted to ask, how do you automate like your secrets for, let's say, deployment or for GitOps? I checked out. I've seen there's still secrets. Which for me, I think it's a challenge since you're still having that stored in the version control. So how do you people do it in large scale systems?
Come again, like how do we do what secrets? Like the value, for example, a database has a username and a password, and you want to keep the password a secret.
Yeah, so it's a secret, like the secrets for Kubernetes, the secret object. So how do you automate their creation, like for new deployments or even for new updates?
Okay. So in GitOps, what we have done is we use a collection of tools. So we have Helm and we have GitHub Actions. So the actual value of secrets is stored as a secret in GitHub Actions. So from experience, what I've seen is GitHub Actions and Azure DevOps, because that's what we largely use in our organization, gives you an option that the secret can be hidden, and only those people who have access to view it from the Kubernetes. You see, like admins in Kubernetes can view secrets, right? So, but before, like how I want to say transport, forgive my English, from the actual value into Kubernetes, you can use GitHub Actions and then you hide it. Because once you say it's a secret, nobody else is going to be able to view, including yourself who set it up as a secret. So you can only check on Kubernetes if you have permissions to view secrets. I don't know whether that answers your question.
Yeah, that was.
How are you doing it currently yourself?
So I'm not yet doing it, so I'm still learning. Yeah.
Okay, so once you automate the pipeline to deploy, there are other tools you can use. Like I'm giving an example of GitHub Actions that can help you protect some of the sensitive variables that you might have. And then on the Kubernetes side, using roles and role bindings, you can actually select who is able to view the secret and who can't view the secret. Because you remember what I was talking about, like the devs can't view secrets in Kubernetes, but a DevOps engineer can. And the ops guys can't view pipelines in dev, but a DevOps engineer can. So yeah, that sort of thing.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Karibu. Any other question? Please don't be shy. It doesn't have to be DevOps related. Just don't infringe on my privacy. Yes, Arnold.
Okay, my question is, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I was asking, I'm a beginner in DevOps. Do I have to learn the foundations of cloud, let's say like AWS, before beginning DevOps?
That's a good question, but allow me to ask, what's your background?
Okay, I have a tech background, kiasi.
Like development, like software development, because I feel like most people who join DevOps come from software development, like coding and that sort of thing.
I'm a full stack developer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Umeona memes za full stack developers? SIPST.
Yes.
I'm kidding. I just seen ubaya. So when it comes to learning DevOps, honestly, there is no right or wrong way. It just depends on where you begin. Like, so for me, I started with operations. So it was easy for me to start on infrastructure automation, containerization, because I wanted to understand what I manage. And then from there, I started, the reason why I joined DevOps is because I wanted to understand now what the developers wanaandika and how it figures into my Kubernetes cluster. So if you're starting from code, so now, personally, I like my learning to have a story. I don't know about you, but if you ask me, because you have asked me, okay, so for me, if I were you and coming from the code bit, I would start understanding how that code gets deployed. So maybe go into pipelines. So my next learning process would be probably Jenkins, Kina Flux, Kina Helm. Then how that goes into my Kubernetes cluster, then I can shikanisha with infrastructure so that it becomes a more targeted learning process for you. Instead of sizi kwambe once a server na Linux na nini, feels very far-fetched. But if you start from how your code, just think about how your code reaches a Kubernetes cluster, that process. So once you understand that process, then you come and understand what happens once my code is in Kubernetes, what does it look like? Because you see, the if statements you write and if else switch, whatever, those things that you write, when you go to Kubernetes, it becomes represented in a different way. We start talking about pods, we start talking about services, ingresses, and what have you. So once you at Kubernetes, now you can understand, okay, so this is what my applications look like. So this is why okay. Then from there, you can now start learning about the underlying infrastructure. So now the underlying infrastructure, inaweza kuwa it's AWS for you, inaweza kuwa Azure, inaweza kuwa whatever, then you can get certified. So if you ask me, I would use that route if I were you. From my code into how it gets deployed, and then understand where it gets deployed, and then you can get certified. So I don't think learning AWS is really necessary, not unless you're using like AWS resources and you need to understand how they work and all. But if you are to curate your own learning curve, I would suggest that.
Okay,
I don't know
thank you.
that
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm answered.
Felix, we can go to you, and then I'll read one from Daniel. Your audio is really, really bad. I can't hear you. So much static. Please share more on the Kubernetes engine you use. For a beginner, what would you recommend for a learner as a golden path to grow in it? I don't understand what you mean, Daniel, by Kubernetes engine. Would you like voice it?
Oh, hi. So sorry, my voice today isn't so good. Hi, John.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, I just mean kuna GKE, EKS. I don't want to get, sometimes you get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just like help us, like from your experience, which one do you use and which one do you like? How did you learn it? You this idea Apple, maybe I can just copy you and then I'll get better.
Okay, okay. Interesting. If you asked me, okay, I don't know why I'm asking that. I'm saying that in kila mtu mnaniuliza, okay, sawa nimeacha. My best answer for that question is vanilla Kubernetes. If you want to understand Kubernetes vizuri. Okay, kidogo tuende into my background, yeah. I studied Kubernetes. Actually, kidogo sana nataka nianza kumwaga mtama. Wow. Okay, but most of you have actually checked me out on LinkedIn. I started my career at Safaricom, PLT, and I was straight from college. Hata Kubernetes nilienda kuisikilia huko for the first time. Alafu niliambiwa ati it has been around for 10 years. I was like, 10 years? Na sasa ndo naisikia. Anyway. So how did I learn Kubernetes? Personally, I learned Kubernetes the hard way. When you, hata saizi ndo nimeona nani ameharibu hiyo course. There's this guy, Kelsey Hightower. Anyone who started learning Kubernetes, anyone in the Kubernetes community mnajua Kelsey. Kelsey Hightower, who is Google, sijuka alihama, but he was working at Google. He was one of the people when you develop Kubernetes, wanaitanga founders, whatever they're called. So Kelsey has a course. Okay, let me say had a course where ilikuwa inaitwa Kubernetes the hard way. And I think it's still there. He's just rearrange a few things. So Kelsey alikuwa na kufunza ama that course, if you just Google it, it teaches you the very nitty-gritties and the foundations of Kubernetes, which begins from how do you set up certificates? Where are the certificates stored? How do you set up a pod? Like, it's very detailed to the level that, honestly, after that, it doesn't matter whether itakuwa EKS, AKS, GKE, whatever it's going to be. Because you will be able to understand when it comes to master-slave architecture, when it comes to where certificates are stored, when it comes to ingress configurations, you will utaiva design ingine, it doesn't matter what provider the organization is going to use, you will be able to answer. So personally, if you want to be, okay, also mimi nilikuwa nataka kujua Kubernetes. I've actually gotten 2 of the certifications that I've shown you guys. And for you to be able to, like, if you're looking forward to getting certified, let me even if you're looking forward to getting certified, the exam is not that bad, but you will need to understand the very nitty-gritties. So vanilla Kubernetes all the way. If you can set it up on your local machine, as in find a solution that can help you manipulate the master node. Because you find AWS, AKS is managed, okay, from the word, you will never get to know the master inakaangaje. Angusha mpaka certificate siku moja unangoja mpaka zina expire. Mimi nakwambia tulikuwa tuna sweat. Because you see, we started vanilla before we even went to AWS, OpenShift, alafu zima manage zingine. So you were monitoring your cluster, then you monitor your certificates, then you monitor everything else. So if you want to get really good, tafuta vanilla Kubernetes. That's my advice.
Maybe just on that, you said Kelsey. Is it Kelsey Hightower? I'm trying to Google on the side. Okay, is he cloud native computing foundation? He has his own like Udemy or something.
No, he has a GitHub. Kelsey Hightower GitHub. Find his GitHub. Just find after Kelsey Hightower Kubernetes the hard way. Let me paste the link up, the GitHub link. Okay. Save. Because for you to be able to ndo umalize CKA na saizi venye wameharibu hizo vitu, the nini is taking long to load, sijui what, it's just chaos. For you to be able to manage kumaliza hiyo exam, you will need, yes, that one, Nathan, thank you. You will need to have the facts hapa. Now, the only way to have those facts so that you are faster in the exam, but also it has really helped in my troubleshooting sessions, in the monitoring. So you are able to identify issues very quickly because you really understand the nitty-gritties. Yeah. Ni huyo. What design patterns that are common to help us? Now that we have you, Daniel, just voice over the second question, alafu we'll go to, there was Charles. Sorry, niliona Charles Namkono. Akiwo, please don't tell me you gave up. Yes, Daniel, then Charles.
Okay, really quick. So the second question is just about how to in DevOps. So we're bringing the Dev and Ops pamoja. But then bado organization, you still have guys who are doing infrastructure, you still have guys who are doing dev, right? So Nile, just from your experience, like what are some of the design part, like some of the how can I put it, like the arrangements and the way people work in the office, so that we can sort of understand, like infrastructure guys have access to this point, dev guys pick it up at this pipeline stage, or you know, like they're the ones who start the pipeline, and they have, you know, there's some situations where developers actually build the infrastructure. So yeah. Just like from your experience, like can you like show us like in just in a general sense, so that we have that view of, if I'm in infrastructure, I stop here, and then if I'm in dev, I pick it up from here, or I can have to do this up to that. If I'm DevOps, I'm taking care of all this. Then that just helped to demystify that for me kidogo.
If I'm being honest, hata mimi mwenyewe, there are days where I don't know who starts from where and who ends where. Honestly, from okay, sorry, no, that's bad. So I don't have a specific answer for you there, unfortunately. But what I can tell you is a soft skill that I think DevOps engineers need to have in communication. Like, you know, like those people who are easy to talk to, and you're able to get information from people. I mean, sijasema mkwe CIA ati extraction, apana. Nile, you need to manage networks. You need to have very good rapport na kila mtu. Because what that helps you is, you're able to, you remember when I told you, there are times where the dev, kwa sababu hana username na password, atasema it's not my problem. it is DevOps, waende wakafigure out, so waende uko na username, ama it's ITO, ama it's Ops, it's systems, it's whatever, it's infrastructure and such. But when you have like a good rapport with your dev team and a good rapport with the Ops team, you're able to identify for yourself. Sometimes these things will make sense. Because you find unakuja katikati, unapata dev ndo wali set up wakaachia Ops, ama vice versa, ama like there's kind of bad blood juu nani ndo wali set up hata tujuangi na kaangaje, and then you're there as a DevOps engineer and there's an issue, and how do you resolve that? So what has worked for me is I don't really need to know from the onset who owns what, ama whatever. But what I do is with the leveraging on your networks, you're able to understand. Because also, we try as much as possible not to have the blame mentality. Oh, ni code yako, ni infrastructure yako, ni servers zako, mbona hauna nini. There's a time, okay, on a very light note, there's a time someone gave me a server, Ops. So I was like, oh, nipatia server, I want to run this and this. Alikuwa alinipatia server iko na specs zingine hapo, namuuliza, my phone is actually faster than this server you're giving me na venye uko na kifua. Anyway, so for you to be able to like take care of such kind of things and isikuwe ni kama kwa nini hamna nini, because it becomes a bit of a challenge. But with networks and being able to communicate and talk without blaming anybody. Okay, that one was a bad example, but without blaming anyone, you actually, because the main goal is, let us solve this. We need to resolve this. It doesn't matter who does the resolution, we just need to resolve this. And I don't know about any DevOps engineer in the house would tell me, ama inakwanga mi peke yangu, there's an issue yenye imetokea and everybody just tags DevOps. I'm like, I was just chilling, I was just writing a Jenkins pipeline. I don't even know what you're talking about. Wapi, So sometimes it gets, okay, is it just because you like the term DevOps? Or you just want to find someone to blame? So in such situations, emotions can run high. So leveraging on your networks and being able to bring people together and identify the solution, I would say that is what has worked for me from my experience. Yes, Charles.
Okay, thank you. Part of my question already imekuwa answered hapo. I just needed to ask, how complex is it to grasp the Kubernetes concept, given you've learned some containerization knowledge like Docker and all the Docker concepts, all of that orchestration and other DevOps tools like Terraform and Git. So how complex is it for you to get into Kubernetes?
Kubernetes in itself is not complex because it's about administration and administration and ingine. Yeah, if you already know Docker, so now Docker produces an image, right? So Kubernetes is about how do you run that image. Maybe I'm biased. Those of us who are currently learning Kubernetes can tell us on the chat how easy it is. But for me, it just took one production incident. Sweat. But yeah, it's not difficult. Plus also the Kubernetes docs are very elaborate, because all you need to understand is the YAML syntax. Imagine, that's it. YAML syntax, and then where to find logs and to execute, shell into the pods. What else? Niyo tu. Juu ukianza kuingiza ingress kuna DNS part. Ukianza kufanya nini ingine. Yeah, it will not take you more than 3 weeks to understand Kubernetes, honestly. Felix?
Hey guys, can you now get me?
Yes.
Okay. Now my question was, let me, John, take to be in a situation that you are a developer. Basically backend. Then I'm new in the system, like 3 to 4 months old. I came as a developer. Then initially the need came arise that as DevOps engineer is required, and the engineers saw the need of acquiring a new person to come and run the system.
Volume imepotea.
Okay, I'm saying.
You're a developer.
Yeah, I'm a developer backend. I came as a developer, then I familiarized myself with the system, which I have not yet completed, but I'm now asked to be a DevOps engineer for the teams. The company holds its apps both cloud and on-prem, and cloud is the AWS specifically, and their apps are developed in Laravel. Yeah, so I'm like, where should I start from containerizing this app to follow up to where it's going then to the cloud? Like, I'm a bit confused, like, where should I go?
Okay, that's a good one. I think the first place to start is deployment, because I think as a DevOps engineer, one of the things you will notice and you will know day in, day out is you will be largely concerned about deployment. How does this code get to the environment it's supposed to be? How does this code get to AWS? How does this code get to the servers? So coming from backend development, I think this ties to a question someone else asked. Coming from backend, and if you don't want to feel overwhelmed, because very, very easily and very quickly DevOps can be super overwhelming. In a day, I say, where come on 1 million, like, wow, like, where, yeah, okay, yeah. It can get super overwhelming. So for you to make it easy, for yourself, so that you also enjoy and not feel frustrated, I would say you'd start from have an understanding of the infrastructure. So understand where this code finally goes. Just get to know. If it goes to Kubernetes, okay, now you know this part goes to Kubernetes. If it goes to a standalone server, also know that. And then write pipelines to deploy the code first. So once you're able to deploy that code, then you can understand the other bit of, because now deployment will come in with monitoring, the automating bit that will be together. And then now you'll understand the ops baadaye. But what I have for the two organizations, actually I've just worked for two organizations. For the two organizations I have worked for, one thing I have noticed about a DevOps engineer is you are largely involved with the dev work. Why? I don't know. Like from experience, yeah, you are largely involved in how this code itafika. Because you find, other than understanding the cloud native part of ops, by ops I mean like hosting na nini, other than understanding your cloud native part, yeah, AWS cloud containerization, Kubernetes, iso Docker na nini, you don't really need to know Linux commands, what. Like, you don't really need to know how the infrastructure, like in a car, basically no. You just need to know, okay, Kubernetes, then this is what I need, Evo. So having that in mind, and knowing that you will largely be involved in developer meetings, pipelines, deployments, then I think it is best if you start from the pipeline side and then work your way to the infrastructure side. Honestly, I don't understand also why job advertising wanasemanga ati you should be cognizant in cloud. Because when I hear cognizant in cloud, mimi nafikirianga lazima ni just do firewall, network policies, what, how do I whitelist IPs na vitu kama hizo, because that ideally is what the cloud is all about. But unapata hata the only cloud part una touch is AKS and EKS, the Kubernetes version, the Kubernetes whatever that they have, and you don't even administer it. Wewe unaambiangwa tu, you have, can you do kubectl get pods? Yes, then you have the access you need, you know. So when I talk about cloud, because I'm the kind of person who wants to really, really understand. So if you say you're a cloud engineer, you really, really want to know, and you really, really have like the skills and skill set za kuwa a cloud engineer. Yani unaweza deploy, debug, nini na vitu kama hizo. So I feel like the level of cloud engineer that you're talking about is more platform than DevOps. So it's more of how to administer the platform itself than being a DevOps engineer. So a DevOps engineer is mainly development, pipeline, na ikishafika hapo. And then you can understand the rest. But that's just me. Yes, Anthony. Okay, I think I'm done. Let me find a way to... Anthony can ask a question. Yeah?
Hi, John. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
So my question is, first of all, just to follow up with Felix's question. So that means that if you're venturing into DevOps, you need to understand the entire software architecture that everyone is basically working with, right?
Sorry, come again?
I'm asking, as you get onboarded as the DevOps engineer, I'm assuming that they will need to understand the entire logic of the entire software development, the entire software development phase. Like they have to understand company backend, they have to understand its functionality and everything before going to the pipelines that are going to enable you to now deploy that application in the cloud. Do they really need to understand the code that they actually found in the organization? That's the question I'm basically trying to ask.
No, you don't.
Okay,
sorry.
Then the next question would be,
yeah.
I have so many questions, so allow me to also ask the next. So apart from developers and DevOps, which other teams do you work with in the entire CI/CD phase? That's the second question. Then finally, when things go wrong, who is the most culpable one? Because I feel like everyone needs to be accountable, just like you said, but who is the most culpable one when things go wrong? Back to you.
Okay. I want to say DevOps got nothing to do with it. It's either a logs thing or a permissions thing. That's from experience. Like you can't say not unless you did not set the variables vizuri na vitu kama hizo, but most often it's either code yako ni mbaya ama server ni mbaya. Hakunaga shida ya DevOps anyway. Nimesahau hata hiyo swali lingine. Umesema gani ya katikati?
Who is the I think, was it the one, have you answered the one that who's the most culpable one? And the other question was
either the developer or the infrastructure.
The other question was apart from developers and the DevOps team, I'd like you to just, we've talked about ops, but I'd like you to maybe be categorical in listing out maybe the other professionals that you work with.
Okay. Najaribu kutafuta their job titles. Nani anakufanyanga kazi gani, you know, that kind of thing. But I think one is product managers. Forgive me, but I don't know the difference between project managers and product managers. Wamejaribu kuniexplainia. I will not fault them, lakini bado. But product managers, project managers, nani wengine tuwatumia tunafanya kazi nao, solutions architects, to sort of understand, because you see, from a DevOps point of view, you're able to see where this infrastructure is going to lie and, you know, vitu kama hizo very quickly because you have a bird's view. So solutions architect anakuja anakuambia this is where you want to go. Unamwambia kidogo hiyo API ni kama hatuna. kidogo hii nini hatuna. So I have found myself in BA meetings, developer meetings, PM meetings, testers, peer, quality engineers. Who else have I found myself talking to? Ni kama ni hao. Yeah, and now the owners of the system, like the business owners of the system. But sana, I don't really deal with the business owners, so that's the product managers' issues. But yeah, solutions architect, quality engineers, business analysts, product managers are some of the technical roles that I interact with from time to time.
Thank you.
Joyce Ululiza, do I need to have a tech background to study AWS? Do I need to have a tech background to study AWS? I don't think so. You know, like those movies where wanatoa 1, 2 and 3 lakini ni independent. Unajua unaweza anza kuona 3 alafu uende 1 alafu uende 2 na bado utasikia kama umepotea. I kind of feel like cloud is that kind of thing. Not unless you choose like a path that is going to lead you, that will require some prerequisites. If you want to study AWS, plus also unajua AWS iko broken into so many things. Kuna networks, kuna containerization, kuna databases, kuna, you know, all those things that might individually require some level of prerequisite in tech. But generally, I don't want to discourage you. It's like that movie. You don't really need a tech background. It is going to be tougher for you without a tech background, but that doesn't mean you can't hack it, you know? Si tulisema sleep is for the weak, ama? Yeah, so I don't think you need a tech background to study AWS. Any other question? Makrini, nilikwambia hapa ninaweza siririka na mambo mengi. So please stop me when time comes.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Just one question.
Yes,
Okay.
Please. John. Because in DevOps, the tools are too many. Is there, let me say, you have a tech stack tools for DevOps that if someone that in this option at CID, I need to do this tool, that you don't do this tool, so that you don't get overwhelmed that you want to learn.
I can't like recommend per se. Allow me not to, but Daniel, unataka kujibu ama ni swali different?
Oh, so sorry. After, please.
Okay. So as I was saying, yeah, DevOps can get really, really overwhelming, real quick, real fast. So sometimes you find ni kama huelewi chochote. I have found myself in such situations. So I have found when I was, let me, when I was in class 7, I had this teacher who gave me one statement that I have lived by to date. He said, capitalize on what you know, then derive what you don't know from what you already know. So with that, what I do is capitalize on what I know. What do I know? I know that the organization is using ELK to monitor. So why am I studying Grafana? You get, I know for a fact we're using Logstash. So mi nafanya nini kwa class ya Prometheus? So that's what I mean. Like, start from what do you know? What is the end goal? If you want to work for an organization, check out their tech stack and then start from there. So if there are some of them, you can do one-to-one correlation, so they don't really mind if you know one tool and don't know the other. But for learning purposes, I would suggest that have an end goal in mind. So if you want to work for Microsoft, if you want to start your own organization, because I mean, see, poverty is the enemy. If you want to, whatever you want, what is your end goal? and then work backwards. Because if you want to work for an organization that capitalizes on open source, for example, Waneka Fund is huge on open source. I can't go studying New Relic because for you to achieve the advantages of New Relic, you need to pay it. So open source, what are some of the tools that can help me fika where New Relic inaweza tufikisha? So you'll find me in an ELK class, you'll find me in a Grafana class, you'll find me. So ideally is the best way I do it is first of all, find out which one has the largest community. Kwa sababu ukikwama na hakuna mtu ana develop, who are you going to ask? You know, it's going to be very frustrating. So that is why Kubernetes is the largely known containerization tools, but that doesn't mean hakuna zingine. There's Docker Swarm, I think. Let's get us sure. But Kubernetes has such a large community that hakuna haja uende uanguke uko na Docker Swarm na vitu zenye hata uelewi. Na Kubernetes, once you ask a question, there's a whole community that is doing research, a whole community that is actively contributing to that project. So if you given an opportunity, you take Kubernetes over this, because unajua ukikwama utasaidika, unajua there's a lot of research that has been done, so it's going to be very easy to find that. So find something that, as I said, start from the end goal and then work backwards. Find something that you want to achieve at the end of it all, because huwezi jua all the tools. Let me be honest, I also don't know all of them. Kuna zingine nakwanga like, hiyo bado iko okay. But that doesn't mean you will become any less of a DevOps engineer, whether you know it or not. Daniel.
Hi. Sorry to circle back, but I think I had two questions which are more towards my area of interest. So initially, the first question on patterns was mostly because I'm very weak on the dev side, right? But my view was to get into this thing through maybe security and sort of other, ops side. But I think my question is, from your experience too, so kuna pia DevSecOps, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe you could just in a general sense, just how does the security come in? And because this is like a concept of shift left, or pushing the security towards earlier stages of the design process, of the delivery process or the build process. And then just like from experience, how do you guys implement security? And then the second one is now less on the technical side, but more on the other, maybe the business side. You could just open to us from your perspective, the meetings you have, the conversations around it. How does the business side look like? Like, what is the software time to value look like? The cycles of that, like just the workflow of that. It also just helps us, because some of us have not been in the workplace in a long time, so it sort of just balances.
Okay. How does shift left work? I think honestly, what I have noticed and what I have experienced is security inakuanga at most of the nini wanafanya hiyo shift left. Najaribu kujibu vizuri kwa sababu hata mimi security kidogo tricky. But you see, like scans, how do you scan code? Sonar Cloud izo, how do you secure secrets na vitu kama hizo? So what I have found myself doing as far as security is concerned, actually ni hizo mbili, and how I integrate that from a DevOps point of view is kwa pipeline. So you automate a step. So like in your pipeline, you have a step to make sure that you may run scans, you may make sure that hakuna secret kwa your repository, na hizo sijui zinaitangwa SAST na sijui what scans imefanya. Also, if kama you're new to dev, actually that's my experience, honestly, because nilianza from ops and it was so overwhelming for me at first to get to understand like the dev side. But what made it easy was pipelines. And in it, I rudia mara kama 1 million, because a DevOps engineer without pipelines, hakuna, unadanganya watu. So pipelines, like I found like one of the most quote unquote complex project, and then I wrote build and release pipelines. So what that meant is every day I meet with this engineer, he gets to explain to me code yetu inafanya hivi. So ukiandika pipeline zako, so you have that at the back of your mind. You're like, okay, so this is what for a Python project, this is not going to be necessary. For a Java project, this is not going to be necessary, and such like things. Yeah. So if you are like me and your background is not dev, what has worked for me to understand that aspect is the pipelines, because you will be sitting with engineers, with developers, and sort of explaining to you venye mambo inaenda. Alafu, one thing I also want to emphasize for you, and msisahau, ni the fact that time is a huge, inaitwa commodity ama inaitwa nini, like the more you do this, the better you get at it. So now when you start like from 0.0 unaendanga tu step moja, 1.5 to 2.5, like that, you end up becoming very good. But I feel like pipelines for people who don't have dev, and for people who also have dev experience, pipelines is a good way to introduce yourself to the DevOps world. Hiyo nimejaribu zaidi kujibu. I hope so. The other one is meetings with non-techies. If I'm being honest, Daniel, especially for those of us who are in corporate who work in organizations, the only thing we are concerned with is delivery and your participation in that delivery. So when it comes to how they decide deadlines, mi wacha nikwambia hata nasikianga tunashtukianga tu naambiwa this in 2 weeks I don't think as DevOps we have that power to dictate like how long a project will take. Not so much, because we are just a conduit. Unajua huyu ameandika kodi yake inafika pale, so sisi tu ndio kupitia hapo katikati. Not unless like there's any development work, there's no pipeline that has been set up for that project, then you can say our chunk of the contribution will be this much. So in addition to the dev work na nini, ongeza 2 weeks. But other than that, because most of the time you find, not unless the organization is really setting up, most of them zisha set up pipelines na nini. So hakuna ati major changes that a DevOps engineer is going to be expected to do in terms of pipelines na contributing nini. But if the organization is setting up like no pipelines, no nothing, in terms of DevOps, hakuna monitoring tools that ziko set up, then from there you can discuss timelines, you can discuss all that. But from like the business point of view, what I have noticed for them is important ni availability, performance, scalability. Sana hizo tatu. Is the software ama is the application up and running? Number 1. Number 2, if we want to scale, we don't have to say, okay, we started with 10 users, now we have 1,000. So can our application manage this? Mbona niko na sauti ya soprano na expect unaongeanga hivyo? I don't know. So how does that system handle hizo vitu? And they don't care about security, honestly, Daniel. They really don't. So hizo sasa ni nyinyi mnajipanga nazo. But those 3 KPIs are important from a business point of view. So you just take those 3 and then you evaluate the system they are accessing, and how do those 3 points get into that, and the contribution you will make as a DevOps engineer. That's the best way I can answer. I hope that is sufficient, Daniel.
No, umesaidia sana. Thank you. I think that's what I'm actually looking for, because sometimes you can actually load your own imagination, or my own imagination. I'm trying to look at how the conversation would look like, but it's not easy to see. But okay, no, just one last one. How do you handle changes, like change management? Do you still also have the long process, like change management board, nini?
Depends on organization, but yeah, change management is really important, kwa sababu you need to, especially if you're affecting many users, unaona watu wa business watakuja na kale kasaprano kao, it was working jana, last way we woke up, so I don't know who touched the system. So if you touched the system without authorization, they'll start asking. No, let me give you a very real life example. This happened to me like 2-3 weeks ago. So system ilikuwa ina run vizuri nini alafu monitoring alert. Something has happened. So the dev knows that if this happens to my system, this is what you need to do. Akaambia DevOps engineer, hii tunakuanga nayo, so what you'll need to do is just run these 3 commands. Yeah. Watch, I ran 3 commands. I will never forget. It was Monday. Jioni, wacha mtu asirun commands. Tuesday asubuhi tunaamka nini? The system is not working. So they're like, okay, so who touched the system? There's somebody who asked about accountability. Walikuwa like, ilikuwa inafanya kazi jana when we went to ni nani huyo ameguza hiyo system na amefanya nini? What did they do? Who authorized? It became a whole conversation. Alafu tukarealize sasa now wenyewe change is important. So like the change management process is really important to have accountability na kujua ni nani ana authorize na ni nani will be carrying out, because you don't also want people who don't have the background experience waanze kuguza vitu production alafu wameangusha because that day we had angusha payment aggregator. Let me tell you, it was chaos. Sijui watu wa USSD, watu wa app, watu wa nini hawawezi lipa. Kuna mtu kwanza alikuja akasema any changes to this system have to go through me, mimi ndo na authorize. Nikasema ni sawa, hebu authorize bas. So change management, yes, of course, is very important for that accountability vibe. But you find that with DevOps and automation, hata mtu anaweza approve saa 2 asubuhi, 8:10 tulishafanya change, and people didn't know. But you see, shida inakuanga, one thing I have noticed from, especially sisi watu wa nini, shida inakuanga ni system ikianguka. Wacha nikwambie, kama inafanya tu 8:10, 8:15 vitu ziko hua tick, everything is nice. People are like, we don't really need someone to approve. Wacha sianguke. So who approved this change? Who told you that you can touch the system? Mambo inaharibikianga hapo. So change system is more of protecting yourself, because you also don't want to get fired over something that ulikuwa unajaribu kusaidia. Imagine nilikuwa najaribu kusaidia kwa sababu users performance is a problem. Lakini sasa katika harakati za kusaidia, si uliguza the wrong button. Alafu we are human. Mambo ina happen, itaanguka. Ndio utaona PM. So I'm the PM for this project and I'm taking over from here. I need to understand. Niliwaambia calm down. Hata sisi wenyewe hatujui what happened. But anyway, yeah. So change management all the way. Gilbert anauliza, is there a specific stack that one needs to learn? No. As long as you know pipeline, deployment, hizi ziko hapa, GitOps, monitoring, kidogo container. Most things are cloud native actually. So as long as you know GitOps na cloud native chagua tu moja, just know one. Kama sasa ni kudeploy, jua Helm ama ujue Flax ama ujue kama ni jua moja, alafu tafuta yenye inatumika sana na sana tafuta ka open source, kwa sababu those will never go out of style. They will never go out of style. So chagua hiyo. Monitoring, just know one of each. You don't need to know all of them, because surely ukianza kusema unataka kujua zote, let me tell you, as we speak kuna mtu ameandika code ya kufanya something else. So if you get to, utakuwa na too much pressure ya kujua hizo vitu, and you no. Tumesema nini? Capitalize on what you know, then derive what you don't know from what you already know. Makrin sasa ninyamazishe please. But thanks so much. What resources did
thank you, Joan. Okay, for those people who still have questions, we'll have another session and we'll bring back Joan so that you can ask more of the questions you have. I see almost everyone is interested in DevOps and learning the system, how it goes all the way from coding to deployment. Everyone wants to understand that process, and that is good. So we'll prepare something else with Joanne, and then she'll come back to just explain. And maybe the next session we'll at least move it a little bit earlier so that people can stay for as long as they want, even if you want for 3 hours. So Joanne, thanks. That was a very great session, and I have also enjoyed, and I know everyone has enjoyed. And yeah, from this talk, everyone wants to become a DevOps by tomorrow. And yeah, so for those who want to become DevOps, all the best. Just like Joanna said, keep learning. Don't be a jack of all trades. Just learn and perfect in one thing. And what I can tell you, there was someone who wants to start DevOps like yesterday. Was it Patrick or Felix? Yeah, Felix. So Felix, they say, first you do it, then do it right, and then do it better. So just do something, let it be bad, appreciate yourself, then do it tomorrow, do it right, and then the next time you'll do it better. So just start and follow Joan's advice and you'll do great. So follow Joan on LinkedIn, and you can also follow us, CloudForceSky. We'll be hosting her more, and yeah, we can create sessions to just have a series of this deployment process so that everyone can at least get something from it. Yes, so that's it for today's session. I see we went 15 minutes over time because it has been a great session. And yeah, thank you, Joan, and thank you everyone for attending this session and for asking questions and for learning more. Tomorrow we'll all be DevOps. Yeah, so thank you. Have a good night, and we'll meet next week but we'll bring Joan with us. So yes, thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Maclean. So sorry, I will learn. So my LinkedIn is Joan Wambugu, but jina yangu katikati is Wangare. So sometimes I join with Joan Wangare and people are like, oh, Joan, you're not part of the call. So I think that's what happened today, Patrick. I am Joan Wangare Wambugu, but my LinkedIn is Joan Wambugu, yeah?
Okay.
You can find me there. Unani anataka slides zangu. Hizi nilitengeneza hapa dakika mbili.
I think you should just share. Maybe they will use them. You can share with Patrick, and then Patrick will share with the whole team.
Sawa. So thanks so much, guys. It was really fun. And let me shout out Levis Maina for the comment. Thank you so much. I like explaining with analogies because wakati mwingine, as Patrick told me, wakati mwingine techies we are so serious. I was dreaming terminologies unarusha mpaka tunakwambia you calm down. Unataka kutuambia ni logs hizi umeshinda ukiziita sijui sometimes it's easy to like tafuta to vibe, go with the flow nini, and then you find inakuwa very easy to follow. And so ndio kwamba mimi kuongea ninaweza ongea zaidi hapo, but thank you so much again, Maclean and team, for having me. Looking forward to like a one-on-one. Kama mkono ya December by the mniite. That one is okay. Also, I have seen a lot of guys on my LinkedIn wanataka some coaching nini, and I am available to do that, but the challenge I have is I cannot have one-on-one, because imagine you're like many of you and one of me, Munijali aki, please. So if it's possible to have like a team, it's going to be easy even for logistics. I just can't, moja itakuwa super overwhelming for me. So goes to Maclean and team, if you have like some people who want to have a group, ikakuwa group mniambia tujipange, ndio tunaweza kusaidiana. Lakini one-on-one itakuwa tricky. Sawa. Thank you.
Yes.
Otherwise, thank you so much, guys. Have a good one.
Okay, good night. We'll arrange something and create a team. Yeah, where we can all learn. Yeah, so good night, everyone. Thanks, Joan, and thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Good night, guys.